The Sunday Guardian, 9th of July 2023, India rejects Chinese efforts to soften its tough position. To combat a belligerent China, India is preparing. By contacting the 14th Dalai Lama on his 88th birthday to wish him, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has demonstrated his profound regard for the Buddhist monk. Later, he shared his birthday wishes on Twitter. He subtly conveyed a strong message to China, which had previously protested Prime Minister Modi's call to the Dalai Lama on the Tibetan Buddhist monk's birthday. At that time, a representative of the communist regime had declared that China would vehemently reject all forms of contact between the Dalai Lama and international dignitaries. The 14th Dalai Lama is anti-Chinese and separatist, according to Zhao Lijian, a spokeswoman for the Chinese Foreign Ministry. India must completely comprehend this. This year, too, Prime Minister Modi called the Dalai Lama to wish him a happy birthday. Highly placed diplomats informed the Sunday Guardian that Prime Minister Modi's public gesture was appropriate. "I conversed with His Holiness at Dalai Lama and sent him my warmest birthday wishes on his 88th birthday. Happy and healthy desires for him," the Prime Minister had tweeted. Sources suggest that India is growing impatient with the PRC's illegitimate claims to Arunachal Pradesh and the Line of Actual Control (LAC) in the Ladakh region and its propaganda advancements in those areas. The Dalai Lama may visit India's northeastern boundaries this year, according to officials who are aware of the Prime Minister's steadfast commitment to upholding the independence of Indian policy, as reported in the Sunday Guardian. The Buddhists in both states have asked the chief ministers of Arunachal Pradesh, Pema Khandu, and Sikkim, Prem Singh Tamang, to put all preparations in place to welcome the Dalai Lama should he, come within the next 2 months. According to reliable sources, senior diplomats are in contact with the Buddhist monk's office if he decides to visit Arunachal Pradesh and Sikkim soon after the rains have stopped. According to sources, representatives from Sikkim and Arunachal Pradesh are also in contact with the Central Tibetan Administration, CAT, for this reason. The Dalai Lama has already received invitations from their chief ministers to visit Arunachal Pradesh and Sikkim. In April, Pema Khandu met with the Dalai Lama in New Delhi. According to reports, the Buddhist monk gave him his word that he wanted to travel to the northeastern regions in October or November. Prem Singh Tamang, the chief minister of Sikkim, also met with the Dalai Lama and invited His Holiness to come to Sikkim during their conversation. When the Dalai Lama visited Delhi for the Global Buddhist Summit hosted by the Indian government, the two CMs had the opportunity to meet him. The Tibetan Buddhist monk gave his speech on April 21, a day after Prime Minister Modi had opened the World Buddhist Gathering. Less than 3 weeks before the meeting between Khandu and the Dalai Lama, China attempted to bolster its claim to the northeastern state of India by giving 11 more locations new names in Tibetan and Mandarin. India has viewed this action as aggressive and utterly unjustifiable. Even though Prime Minister Modi has consistently wished the Dalai Lama on his birthday since 2021, China remains upset. Diplomats say, India should give China a befitting reply in similar language. At the same time, China continues to assert its claim on certain places in Arunachal Pradesh and several regions along the Ladakh. Arunachal Pradesh hosted the Dalai Lama in April 2017, which led to vehement criticism from Beijing. The Chinese Foreign Ministry summoned India's then ambassador in Beijing to register a protest when he visited Tawang in Arunachal Pradesh. India answered that it regards him as an honoured visitor and a revered religious figure with a sizable following in India and that he is unrestricted in his travels throughout the nation. The Dalai Lama and the Tibetan exile group have lived in India for about 65 years. Even as Prime Minister Modi set the tone for the same, India's diplomatic campaign to pressure China on Tibet has gained steam. According to sources, Prime Minister Modi's meetings with American Buddhist scholar Bob Thurman and Hollywood actor Richard Gere, both outspoken and ardent defenders of human rights in Tibet and close to the Dalai Lama, clearly indicated India's intentions. On June 21, at the UN headquarters in New York, photos of GIR, the International Campaign for Tibet chair, practicing yoga beside Prime Minister Modi quickly became popular on social media. India transported the Dalai Lama in an Indian Air Force helicopter from Leh to the isolated Himalayan village of Lingsht in August of last year. The Indian Ministry of Defence posted the images of the same. The One China policy had been unilaterally adopted by India in the middle of the 1950s. However, it hasn't since made any further clarifications or publicly or in bilateral documents repeated such a pledge. China has urged India to recommit to the One China policy. The related policies of New Delhi, according to India, are well known and consistent. They don't need to be reiterated. The fact that China is claiming several air, sea, and land spaces that belong to other nations should be considered when the rest of the world discusses the One China policy. For instance, analysts say the US has merely supported the One China principle, which is distinct from the One China policy. India's Prime Minister, Narendra Modi, has been adamant that no portion of Indian land will be surrendered to any other nation. He has matched this adamance by maintaining India's policy of acting independently of pressure from its northern neighbour.